Hello and welcome to the channel's book club. Nigeria is incredibly gifted with talented and passionate writers who endure many challenges in their bid to get their books published. Nevertheless, they manage to churn out fantastic books that provide readers with lots of entertainment, information, and inspiration. Campbell Fatoki wrote a fascinating fiction novel titled Thread of Gold Beads, a book I thoroughly enjoyed reading. Nika was born in Ukraine, grew up in Nigeria before going to reside in the United States. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics from Howard University and a Master of Arts degree in international development from American University, Washington, D.C. Presently, Nika is a budget and finance manager in the municipal government in the Washington, D.C. area. Nika joined us in this episode to discuss her works, her novel, and a few things personal. Please join us after this break.
Migrated from Ile-Ife and were the first to settle on Lagos Island. Olofin, son of Oduduwa, had been given a plate by his father when they parted ways. He was told to place the plate on the river and follow it. It was only when the plate stopped and sank to the bottom of the river that they would finally rest and make that location home. The plate finally stopped and sank at Idumota. Soon after came the Bini people. They named Lagos Eko, which means cassava farm. The Amaros, freed slaves from Brazil and Cuba, with names like Fernandez, De Souza, and Alfonso, to name a few, migrated next. They are known for their architectural acumen. They introduced the two-story buildings and bungalows. The Saros, descended from the Yorubas, were freed slaves from Sierra Leone that arrived years ago and made Lagos a mainland home. Lagos, colonized by the British for the past 40-odd years, was flourishing under foreign rule. It was the commercial center of the West Coast. Having taken over most of the trading from Madam Titilayo, since her health had begun to deteriorate a few years ago, I had the opportunity to see how Lagos flourished. I traveled as far as Port Harcourt, not minding the fact that very few women have braved the unknown territories that they were. I enjoyed my new life. It was a far cry from what it had been when I had first arrived at Abeokuta. The loss of my baby had been the last straw for me. I sank into depression. I lost all motivation to live. I refused to eat, almost on the brink of death. Dare, who would have helped to bring some normalcy, decided that he had enough of Abeokuta and moved to Lagos. Mrs. Oladele was the one that surprised everyone the most. She came early one morning and announced to her good friend that she would be moving to Ibadan. In a few days, she was gone. The constant in my life became Madam Titilayo. She sat by my side daily for many months. I would hear her praying over me at odd hours of the night. She forced me to drink beef or chicken broth when I could no longer swallow solids. Sometimes I would hear her crying over my skeletal body. Then she started to read the Bible in my room. She would tell me what book she was reading from and then begin in low tones. It soothed me, calmed me down. I would watch her smiling as she read. She had a peace about her. She refused to travel. Rather, she would send her laborers, knowing that they would cheat her. I begged her to go and told her that I would be fine, but she refused. You are more important than that, she would say repeatedly and touch my cheek. When I came around fully, I asked her what she had kept chanting over me all those months. Madam Titilayo had smiled and said, "It is Psalm 23 in the Bible." Her constant chanting, had caused me to memorize it.
Okay, thank you for joining us on the Channels Book Club.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Born in Ukraine,
Yes,
lived a bit in Nigeria,
yes,
ended up in the United States.
yes.
Let's talk a bit about that before we talk about your writing
All
and
right.
your book.
Okay.
Tell us, what was that experience like?
I think I've had multiple experiences, lifetimes. I don't know what to say. I was born in Lvov, Ukraine, and that was due to my parents, who were medical students in Russia at that time before it split up into Ukraine and the other countries in Soviet Union. And I was shipped back home to Nigeria to be raised by my grandparents for a few years until my parents finished their medical school. So I had a bit of a life living with my grandparents alone, and then my parents coming back. I remember living with my grandparents and just being really close to them growing up. And that's why I have, through the book, you see that I mentioned stuff about my grandparents and hearing stories about their lives, and that's why I have so many stories about them, because I was very close to them. Living in Nigeria, I lived in Nigeria for 19 years. So I wasn't a small child coming to the United States. I'm a Nigerian. I'm not an American at all. So I know the culture. I'm Yoruba. I may not look like it, but I am Yoruba. Born and bred in Lagos. I'm Lagosian. My family is Campbell, and I'm married to Fatoki. That's why I have Campbell Fatoki as my name. And I feel so blessed having so many cultures. Having lived in Nigeria and then going to America and still being young enough to assimilate the culture there and still have my own culture and my own values. So I feel very blessed having all that in me.
Tell us a bit about how your romance, so to speak, with books started. When did you start reading? When did you start writing? And then we'll come back to how this book I love so much, how it all started for you.
I started reading very early on, and it was not even due to my grandparents. My grandparents were the storytellers. They told stories from, mouth to mouth about their growing up in Lagos and Abeokuta and Ebute Metta in Lagos. But my love for reading started with my mom. She encouraged us to read because she bought books whether we liked it or not. We always had books in our house. We had a huge library in our house. And regardless of how full the library was, she would still take us out to buy more books every Saturday. And so there was no excuse for not reading. You had every type of encyclopedia in the house, every type of book in the house. Anything you wanted to read, you had it right there. So the world was open to us through the book. We could travel anywhere by opening a book. It was wonderful. It was a pure joy and of experience. I bless my mom for that. She opened up so many doors for us. So when people were talking about different things, we had an experience because we'd read about it. Even if we hadn't really experienced it, we had the experience of it from reading from a book. And so that's how my love for reading started, really. And so when I started reading, I was like, I can write this too. And so I started jotting down things, short stories, and stapling them together on pieces of paper, giving it to my sister to read or my friends to read. And so that's how my love for reading led to my love for writing.